If you open like any major financial news outlet today, you are just going to get hit with a statistic that feels, honestly, it feels like a punch to the gut.
Yeah, it really does.
52%. I mean, according to the 2024 Talent Disrupted report, 52% of recent college graduates are working in jobs uh, that just don't require a 4-year degree.
Right.
And when you pair that massive headline with the reality of this 2025 labor market where, recent grad unemployment just hit 5.8%, which is the highest since 2013 if you exclude the pandemic, it just looks like a total systemic collapse.
It sounds terrifying. Absolutely.
It does. And then you add in the fact that AI is actively automating all these entry-level white-collar tasks that grads historically use just to get their foot in the door. The whole narrative becomes incredibly bleak. So, welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Whether you are a recent grad trying to navigate this chaotic landscape, or maybe an executive managing a workforce, or I don't know, just someone trying to understand the actual mechanics of our economy right now, we're talking directly to you.
Yeah.
Our mission today isn't to just pile on the doom and gloom. It's to decode these massive numbers. We're piecing this together using a fascinating new paper by Dr. Jonathan H. Westover, alongside some 2026 data from Stroll and colleagues, plus some really deep research into economic scarring by Attewell, Witteveen, and Erlana Bover.
Yeah, there is a lot of incredible data to get through.
The goal here is to figure out, is higher education actually broken? Or are we just using a fundamentally flawed system to measure it?
Well,
Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, first off, the anxiety surrounding that 52% headline is completely valid. I mean, it's scary. But the number itself is missing a massive structural context.
Right.
Dr. Westover's research kind of pulls back the curtain on how that statistic is even generated in the first place. And when we adjust the methodology, when we look at the actual mechanics of the labor market instead of just a theoretical baseline, the true underemployment rate actually drops by half.
Drops by half. Wow. To understand how a huge national statistic can be that far off, I mean, we really have to look at the engine generating the numbers, right? The Bureau of Labor Statistics, or the BLS.
Yeah, the BLS. They are the ones classifying what a job supposedly requires.
So how does that work?
So the standard approach that drives these terrifying headlines is the BLS job analysis method. Basically, they categorize occupations based on the minimum typical education needed for entry.
Okay.
A panel of economists looks at a specific job code. They evaluate the absolute baseline requirements just to physically walk through the door and start the role, and then they assign it an educational tag.
Which is, I mean, it's a bit like looking at a complex recipe for a multi-tiered wedding cake, seeing that step one is crack an egg, and officially classifying the entire process as a beginner-level task.
That is a perfect analogy.
It measures the absolute floor of the entry requirement, right? But it completely ignores the complex engineering and, execution the final product actually demands. But wait, let me push back on this for a second. If a job only technically requires a high school diploma on paper, aren't college grads doing it inherently underemployed?
Well, you would think so, but the 2026 research from Stroll and his colleagues exposes a massive flaw in that logic. They analyzed the actual workforce composition, and they found that 27% of the occupations the BLS strictly classifies as requiring only a high school credential. They actually employ more workers with bachelor's degrees than workers with high school diplomas.
Wait, really? More college grads than high school grads?
Yes. The formal government job description simply hasn't updated to match the complexity of what the daily work actually requires in a modern economy.
So over a quarter of these quote-unquote high school jobs are predominantly filled by college graduates.
Right.
I mean, the job title might be something legacy like administrative assistant or inventory clerk, but the actual software stack and the analytical load of that role has just evolved dramatically over the last 10 years.
Which forces a huge shift in how economists have to evaluate the market. What's fascinating here is that Westover introduces two alternative methodologies to correct this BLS blind spot.
Okay, what are they?
First, there's the realized matches approach, which categorizes jobs based on what employers are actually hiring, not what some 30-year-old job description says.
Makes sense.
And second, the earnings-based approach, which looks at the actual financial compensation attached to the role. Moving from a theoretical baseline to actual employer behavior completely changes the landscape here.
Well, yeah, because since employers are actually choosing to fill these baseline jobs with college graduates, we have to look at the money. I mean, are these grads just settling for lower wages because the economy is tough, or is the market actually rewarding their degrees?
Oh, the market is aggressively rewarding the degree. Here is a huge data point. Workers with bachelor's degrees who are operating in these high school level occupations earn 38% more at the median than high school graduates working in those exact same occupations.
Whoa, wait. Here's where it gets really interesting. Employers are not running charities, right?
Definitely not.
If a corporation is willingly paying a 38% premium for a college grad to sit in a seat that, theoretically only needs a high school diploma, they must be extracting a massive return on that investment.
Absolutely. They aren't paying for the operational baseline. They're paying for the cognitive flexibility, the advanced problem solving, and the capacity to handle unstructured data that the degree built.
Because they can do more with the role.
Right. You see that reflected in the day-to-day responsibilities. The job title might simply say assistant store manager. But the college grad in that role is likely executing complex local market forecasting, optimizing supply chain logistics, managing crisis communications.
Stuff that isn't on the official job description at all.
Exactly. The employer recognizes that expanded cognitive capacity and compensates them for it, even without changing the formal title.
So the government spreadsheet calls them underemployed, but the payroll data proves they are actually highly valued assets. And this whole dynamic has to evolve when we look at the long game, right? The timeline of a modern career.
It does. See, early career underemployment, those first 2 to 3 years post-graduation, it often acts as a temporary job matching phase. The labor market has incredible friction.
Oh, for sure.
Finding the exact right alignment between a graduate's specialized skills and an employer's immediate needs takes time. And the data shows the wage premium for a bachelor's degree isn't static. It compounds.
How much does it compound?
It starts at a 27% premium over high school graduates at age 25 and expands to a massive 60% premium by age 55.
60%. So a graduate gets a little more strategic responsibility in year 1, which leads to managing a project in year 3, and that just cascades over 30 years.
Right. Furthermore, workers today change jobs an average of 12.7 times in their careers. So when you account for all of this, the 38% earnings premium, the high velocity of early career moves, the compounding growth, the real rate of underemployment for 22 to 23-year-olds falls from that terrifying 52% headline down to just 25%.
Okay, a drop to 25% completely changes the narrative. But, and I think this is important, we can't just gloss over the reality of that remaining quarter.
No, we absolutely can't.
I mean, 25% still represents roughly 1 million individuals annually who are genuinely stuck in roles that don't utilize their skills and don't offer that wage premium.
Yeah, and for those 1 million individuals, it's painful. It represents a profound failure of human capital allocation.
What's the actual toll on those workers?
Well, the 2023 research by Atwell and Witteveen quantifies it. They found that these truly underemployed workers face a 30% earnings penalty compared to their appropriately matched peers.
30% penalty. That is a devastating financial hit right when you're trying to pay down student debt.
It is. And beyond the balance sheet, there's a huge psychological toll. It's a concept called psychological contract violation.
Psychological contract violation. That sounds so agonizing. I mean, it maps perfectly onto what we tell teenagers, right?
Exactly. It's the cognitive dissonance between the promise of education, the guarantee that 4 years of studying will be rewarded with an upwardly mobile career, and the crushing reality of an underutilized daily grind. It creates profound disengagement and usually leads to burnout.
Which brings up the scarring effect. I've always wondered about the long-term damage of graduating into a bad economy.
Right, and Arellano Bover's 2022 findings dig into these scarring effects. The damage is systemic. When a graduate starts in a mismatched, low-complexity job, the loss of immediate wages is actually secondary.
Oh, really? What's the primary damage?
The primary damage is the loss of that crucial early career window to develop complex professional skills. They aren't getting reps in cross-functional collaboration or advanced project management.
Because they're just doing basic administrative stuff.
Exactly. So their cognitive muscles kind of atrophy. And if they try to transition into a degree-level role 3 years later, they're competing against peers who have spent 36 months compounding those exact high-level skills.
It's a self-reinforcing cycle of underutilization.
Yes. This raises an important question regarding how organizations and universities actually must intervene, because ignoring this issue hurts a company's bottom line. Turnover from that psychological contract violation is incredibly expensive.
Right. So how are the smart companies actually adapting to fix this gap?
Well, the first big shift is the move towards skills-based hiring. Companies are finally fighting credential inflation.
Oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah, IBM is a great example. They eliminated bachelor's degree requirements for 50% of their U.S. openings.
Wait, 50%? That's huge for IBM.
It is. Accenture is doing something similar by using massive apprenticeship models. Penguin Random House completely removed degree requirements to boost socioeconomic diversity in their hiring. They realized a piece of paper isn't always the best proxy for actual skills.
Okay, what about the grads who are already working inside the building? Like the ones in retail or support jobs who are actively experiencing that psychological contract violation.
No. That's where job enrichment and internal mobility come in. Advance Automotive is a brilliant case study here. They realized a lot of their store managers had bachelor's degrees, but were frustrated by just doing operational tasks.
Oh, what do they do?
Instead of letting them quit, they redesigned the store management role to include advanced data analytics and regional strategic planning. They leveraged the grad skills while keeping the operational duties.
Oh, wow.
And Starbucks created dedicated pathways for baristas with degrees to move straight into corporate supply chain and marketing roles.
That makes so much sense because they already know the company culture.
Exactly. AT&T and Kaiser Permanente have built robust internal reskilling and career laddering programs, moving support staff directly into technical and nursing roles.
You know, it reminds me of companies like Enterprise Rent-A-Car and Teach for America. They thrive because they are just so transparent.
Yes, transparency is key.
They tell recruits exactly what the grind looks like on day one, like you will be washing cars or you will be managing difficult classrooms, but they explicitly map out the long-term career trajectory right from the start.
Right, which completely preempts that psychological contract violation. The employee knows the friction is just a stepping stone.
So what does this all mean for the universities? I mean, it's not just on employers. If universities are charging massive tuition, what is their responsibility to stop dumping grads into a misaligned labor market in the first place?
It's a massive burden, but leading institutions are adapting. Take Northeastern University, for example.
Oh, their co-op model, right?
Exactly. They bake paid professional work directly into the academic curriculum. Students alternate between semesters of theory and 6-month blocks of full-time corporate employment.
So they graduate with actual experience.
Yes. And Georgia State University is using predictive analytics. They track risk markers to catch students who are struggling or just misaligned in their majors, and they offer proactive advising to pivot them into better-suited paths before they graduate.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
What about Minerva University? I saw them mentioned in the research.
Minerva is fascinating. They structure their entire model around non-cognitive skills, things like persistence, adaptability, and cross-cultural collaboration. And the data shows these specific skills are essential for avoiding underemployment.
Because you can teach someone a software program, but teaching them resilience is a lot harder.
Exactly.
But I have to ask, because we always hear this, should we just stop letting people major in history or English if they want a job?
Yeah.
Like, what about the liberal arts?
The data strongly pushes back against abandoning the humanities. The key is something called strategic credentialing.
Strategic credentialing. What does that mean for an English major?
It means pairing complementary skills. A history major who pairs their degree with, say, a hard certificate in data analytics or digital communication, they become a highly distinctive, valuable candidate.
Oh, I see.
It's not about abandoning your passion. It's about building a practical technical engine to drive that passion into the market. You need the technical baseline, but you also need the humanities training to actually interpret the data and tell the story.
That makes a ton of sense. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's kind of summarize where we landed. That terrifying 52% headline. It's basically a ghost story driven by rigid, outdated BLS classifications.
It really is.
When you look at the actual data, the true rate is closer to 25%. And yes, while that 25% represents real human struggle and economic friction, which we absolutely need to fix, the data unequivocally shows that the bachelor's degree remains an incredibly powerful economic engine.
Absolutely.
It pays massive premiums, and those premiums compound over a lifetime.
My final thought on all this would just be a reminder that knowledge is most valuable when it's understood in context. Critical thinking is absolutely essential when you're evaluating these terrifying economic headlines.
Well said. You can't just take the headline at face value.
No, you really can't.
So, to you listening, I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought to mull over. We've seen that the true financial and professional value of your education might not fully reveal itself until you're like 55 years old.
Right.
How does that change the way you view the quote-unquote dead-end tasks on your desk today? Are you viewing your current role as a final destination or as the raw material for your next strategic pivot? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.